This morning, the Board of Aldermen moved one step closer to approving a controversial plan that would allow BJC Hospital to build on a portion of Forest Park near their campus. Earlier this week, supporters and opponents of the plan had their chance to make their cases before the Aldermanic Parks Committee. Supporters were led by the bill's sponsor, 17th Ward Alderman Joe Rohde.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I get into the nuts and bolts of this, I just want to say, to those of you who are in opposition, this is certainly an issue where I think reasonable people can disagree. And while I disagree with you, I want to express my appreciation. Your opposition to this issue has made it a far better deal for the city.
Good afternoon. I'm Carla Scissors Cohen with Citizens to Protect Forest Park. I'm also a resident of the Central West End. I also had both of my children at Barnes Hospital, so I am very grateful for Barnes Hospital being in my neighborhood. I live on Laclede Place, which is a street that was redeveloped by Washington U. So I understand firsthand the importance of the community work that Barnes Jewish Hospital does and Washington U does. However, I am here today as part of a group, Citizens to Protect Forest Park. I'm sure you all have heard our rhetoric and you've heard what we had to say, but I think it's worth repeating, and I appreciate the opportunity to share our views. I'm not just here on behalf of Citizens to Protect Forest Park. I'm here on behalf of 28,000 St. Louis citizens who signed the City Park Protection Initiative. We think that it's very important to give the citizens a say in what happens to their parkland. Forest Park was dedicated to the citizens of St. Louis in 1874. Wasn't dedicated to the elected officials, wasn't dedicated to the institutions that surround the park, but it was dedicated to the citizens of St. Louis. And we feel that it's important that those citizens have a say in what happens, a real say in what happens to that parkland. When we started the petition drive, we would go out and start talking to people about this, and before I could begin my spiel, people would say, I need that pen, I want to sign it. I know what this is about. We think, when we urge you to put this proposal on hold, let the folks have a say. Why are we rushing this? I don't understand why, we don't understand why this has to be rushed through. We think it's disrespectful to the citizens who signed this petition to rush this proposal through. We think it undermines the will of the people. Let's let the folks have a say. Let them vote and decide whether they want to say in what happens to their parkland. There's many other reasons to oppose this proposal. We call it the slippery slope. We think it sets a very dangerous precedent to sell off public land for private use. What happens 20 years down the road when Washington University, for example, I'm not picking on them, it's just an example, what happens if they run out of room? They're close to running out of room now, and they just want a little slice over there on Skinker Boulevard. Quote unquote, selling off this parkland for private use is setting a dangerous, dangerous precedent, not just for Forest Park, but for all other city parks. Okay, we understand that Forest Park needs funding. We know that. I use Forest Park. But we don't believe this is about the funding. If it was about the funding, why don't we put together a blue ribbon panel and take a look at all the funding options before we sell off our assets? You wouldn't sell your wedding ring the first time you're late on a bill, would you? Let's look at every single option and possibility before we rush to sell off parkland, quote unquote, sell off parkland, because once you sell it, once you build on it, it's gone for good. We'd like to recommend a blue ribbon panel. Let's put together the best economics professors at WashU and St. Louis University. Let's look at other cities and best practices. Let's find some other real funding solutions. Let's find a long-term funding solution. I've been told that there's a regional tax floating around possibility. I don't understand why we can't work on that. This parkland is too precious, not just for us, but for our future. Clearly, the citizens have spoken. 28,000 signatures gathered in a 4-month period has to say something. We say, it says, our park is not for sale.